the 5 years since 2019, there's been a couple of major developments in the market. The growth rate of the market, the importance of that market in terms of size has only increased, and that's driven by demographic factors, the growth of the populations across Southeast Asia, and specifically the growth of the middle class consumers emerging into that middle class and spending a lot more money on consumer products like household detergents, household cleaners, personal care product, cosmetics, etc. So that's one big change. The other change is what I call the Asiafication of the market. So products now in the consumer area are being developed much more in a targeted manner to address the needs of the Asian consumer and the lifestyles of the Asian consumer. And so you're seeing that now being a well-established trend, and that also really lends a lot more importance to the market in that region, not only in terms of size, but in terms of its ability to set trends, both market trends and technology trends. So there's a lot of innovation in surfactants up and down the supply chain. One thing that's very Asia-centric, very Malaysia-centric, is the work that's been ongoing now for a few years on the palm genome, looking at the composition of the genome and the factors that can improve efficiency of the crops, yields of the crops, regeneration of the crops, all these factors. There's a lot of room for improvement between top tier performance and average and lower tier performance in terms of yields from palm plantations, and there's some fantastic work going on in Malaysia especially around that subject. Further technology innovation, of course, as we've heard about earlier in the year, is around biosurfactants, and there is biosurfactant activity for sure in Asia. We're going to hear from some of those companies working on fermentation-based and other routes towards novel surfactants, some of which use palm byproduct, palm waste, as an input, as a raw material. So that's really interesting. In terms of process technology, the state of the art continues to evolve, often in response to regulation, things like minimizing the formation of dioxane, the removal of dioxane from surfactants. All these things are very important for a producer wherever they're located in the world now. And so this is a pretty hot topic today. So a lot of technology innovation. Of course, in the consumer product side, technology is pretty important when you look at personalization of cosmetics, formula development to minimize environmental impact, improve sustainability. All these things ripple back through the supply chain, impact the manufacturers of cosmetics and the suppliers of feedstock. So we, of course, cover all that as well. The regulatory situation in Europe is affecting the market in Asia in a very, very big way. This is a huge topic right now. The so-called EUDR is being discussed right across the region, from the beginning to the end of the supply chain. EUDR stands for the European Union Deforestation Regulation, and it deals with the import and use of certain commodities which are suspected of causing deforestation. And of course, as far as the surfactant industry goes, it affects palm oil and other palm derivatives. And as you know, palm kernel oil is a super important feedstock for surfactants. It also happens to be incredibly important as part of the economy in Malaysia and Indonesia. And so this is really making a big impact in that region. It's got a lot of people guessing about the future of the European market as a whole for palm oil derivatives, including palm oil derived surfactants. And these are very important across a whole range of consumer products already in Europe. And it's a fairly significant market for producers in Malaysia and Indonesia. So this is going to be a big topic at the conference. It goes right to the heart of the industries and the growth of the middle class, quite frankly, in countries like Malaysia and Indonesia. And so it really cuts to the core of a lot of their economic policy. The government is heavily involved. And I think perhaps that Europeans and North Americans don't fully understand the extent to which this affects the lives of ordinary people in the Southeast Asian region. And we're going to dig into that in a lot of detail and hear from a lot of interested stakeholders, both companies, government organizations, non-government organizations, about what they think of these regulations, the regulatory trends in Europe in particular, also in North America, because they have an impact as well, and how that really impacts the global flow of surfactants and surfactant feedstocks. So it's going to be a fascinating exposition of all these factors. So we spend a full day together in person. The course is called Surfactant Business Essentials, and that's exactly what it is. We look at the entire value chain from a business perspective. We study economics, we understand markets, we discuss applications, we go down to the individual building blocks and look at the cost parameters there and how those building blocks are put together to develop the major volume surfactants like LAS, SLES, alcohol ethoxylates, the whole range of surfactants. What are the market drivers, particularly of course in Asia? We'll lend an Asian focus to it, that affect demand and that drive economics. We'll spend quite a bit of time talking about individual companies and their strategies and their position in the market and how they've evolved and how we expect them to evolve in the coming years. And of course, we take time to answer a lot of questions. So it's a super intensive, highly information-rich day, a lot of work and a lot of focus required, but ultimately very rewarding. And it's classroom style, open discussion. You get materials to take away with you at the end of the day, and it's always extremely valuable for anyone who attends. What excites me most is the people in the room. At all of our conferences, and this is no exception, we have in the room the entire supply chain, right from the very beginning, the palm plantation companies and the petrochemical companies, all the way through to the end, the consumer products companies, L'Oreal, Unilever, those types of big users of surfactants, and everyone in between, the manufacturers of the intermediates, surfactants, technology providers, other service providers. So they all come together. The focus of the conferences, as you know, is primarily commercial. We talk about market trends, economic drivers. We do talk about technology, of course, but focus in on that in terms of what the impact of that technology is on the economics, on the supply chain scenarios. So it's really exciting to see this incredibly engaged group of stakeholders in the whole industry get together, swap ideas, swap perspectives, do deals. A lot of introductions made, a lot of relationships forged and developed at our events, and so that's really what I'm looking forward to. And one more thing, I can guarantee that whoever attends our conference, you're going to meet people and companies that you've never met before and that you've probably never even heard of before. These are new companies coming to the fore, getting involved in our industry, and so this is a great place to really keep abreast of the new developments and the new companies and the new individuals. And that's also exciting. So there's a lot to be excited about, and I can't wait till November the 20th.